Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another event with the Fabulous Virtual Tasting Society. Tonight we have Hunter Leese here with us from Dingle. We have a buffet of fabulous whiskeys to try. So Hunter, take it away.
Good stuff. So, thanks for having me on again. As always, it's a pleasure to be here. I think I haven't counted how many I've been on, but this is certainly getting close to double digits, I think, hopefully. I should really kind of go back and count them up to so we maybe have a celebration one of these times. But pleasure to be here. We get to talk about something very near and dear to my heart, which is Dingle Distillery. We'll kind of walk through a little bit. I don't think has anybody ever been there, I guess. I don't know if you can raise your hand on this, but um, I think I'm getting a lot of no's. Pipe in if you're a yes, but either way, you should all get there at some point in your life. But to that end, I have a nice little, it's a minute long, it's a newer video. I like it a lot. It kind of shows you a little bit about kind of what the countryside is, and also about kind of what we do at the distillery. So I think that's a nice intro. And if you don't mind, if I'll just share it at 60 seconds, so it'll go by pretty quickly. And we'll just get that going. And we'll share sound, make sure we do that. And okay, yeah, right. Is that full screen for you guys? Perfect. All right, here we go. All right. So I'll stop sharing that, but if I can figure that out. That's just again kind of a nice quick intro there. It's great to kind of get a feel for what the peninsula has to offer. The last shot was of the distillery. If you know for the town itself, basically if you go down to the harbor, there's a lot of shots of the town there. You take a right, it's about a 5, 6, 7 minute walk over to the distillery from there. So we are truly ingrained in the town itself. But while I get into the distillery, it's always good to get the whiskey going. So I'll kind of kick this off with the single malt. So before I kind of get into the storytelling, again, just kind of nice to set the scene with the with where we are. First of all, just quick call out: if you're there, don't expect that kind of weather. I think they had to wait several days for it to look like that. But it is on a beautiful day, one of the most beautiful places in the entire world. But just kind of kicking off with our core single malt. So this was our first year on whiskey that we've done. It's our flagship. We will have a sister whiskey coming alongside it in about a year in the version of a pot still. That'll be about $5-10 more. But for now, this is kind of our first year on whiskey. It's a single malt. We do it Solera style. So we have a big, not our mash tun is Oregon pine. Our Solera tank is also Oregon pine. And it's about 6,000 liters. We fill it all the way up. It's 60%, 61% if you're getting really technical PX sherry casks, and 39% bourbon casks, or we just call it 60/40 just to be easy. I can tell you what the producer is in the PX if you guys have any questions on that. You have to give me like 30 seconds to look it up. But all the bourbon barrels are coming from Heaven Hill for the most part. 95% of them are coming from there. But those are all put in this layer tank, again, 6,000 liters. That's mostly for consistency, kind of year to year. So you'll get, we only add about 5.5-year-old whiskey to that. But over time, you'll get some, kind of longer, more, older spirit that goes in there. It'd be like, kind of if you're making a hearty soup, or what do they call it? Immortal soup kind of thing. Or a classic curry is what Aiden would say. But basically it adds stability over time. You're going to have kind of consistency batch to batch, so that when you're drinking a bottle of single malt, even though the casks are different and everything's different, it should, within a within minutia, taste relatively similar to the last bottle you opened. And that's kind of how we keep that kind of core year-round whiskey what it is. It is all first fill casks. Just from a general ethos perspective, one thing that you should know about us is everything we do is non-chill filtered. We won't make a whiskey under 46%. Everything we do is first fill casks. I don't see any plans to do anything differently now or in the future, but I mean, at some point, it's probable that would have to change maybe. But for now, everything that comes out is all first fill barrels, all first fill casks. Everything's done in-house at our distillery. We don't source any of our whiskey. We don't source any of our spirits at all. Everything's distilled at that blue shed that you saw, and everything's matured in our warehouse, which is about, it's, I say a kilometer, it's probably closer to two, but right outside the distillery. But you still get that sea air influence, all that coming through. So again, as far as dedication to what we do, that runs through. There's now over 45 whiskey distilleries in Ireland. We're now the fifth oldest. Our first spirit was laid down in December of 2012. So feel free to kind of get started with this guy, and I'll continue spieling unless you guys have any questions in the meantime. So um, anything to start? Great. I'll keep talking because I love to talk and love to hear myself. So Dingle's near and dear to my heart, not just the distillery, but also the place. It's one of my favorite places in all of Ireland. It's a town of about 2,500 people. It has about 25 pubs. It's probably not 25 now. I think it might be 24. A couple have closed over the years, but it's a very popular town for people to go within Ireland. If you're in Ireland, you would, if you ask anybody if they know where Dingle is, they'd be able to tell you. Less so here, but it still is one of the top 10 most visited places in Ireland, despite it being very rural, quite remote, and also quite small. So one of the reasons is because it's spectacular. It's red sandstone cliffs. It's about a couple hours south of the Cliffs of Moher on the Dingle Peninsula. So if you know where County Cork is, if you know where Killarney is, that's even closer, or Tralee. You'd head west from there about an hour and a half. It's about an hour from Tralee. And someone asked about an age statement. We don't have an age statement on there, partially because it is a Solera tank. So most of the whiskey coming out of there is it's going to be minimum 5.5, 6 years old, but at this point probably up to 9 years old in there. So that's kind of roughly the range, but there is no age statement on there. You get a lot, I would say, more honestly, because we're using first fill casks. You're going to get a lot of barrel extraction coming out of there, even though it is Ireland. So I mean, you don't have to have it go 10 years to have a kind of full flavor whiskey, I would say. But we're not going to put out a 4-year-old whiskey. That's probably too young or anything like that. We've found that when this started to get 5+ years old, we're starting to kind of hit the flavor profile that we're going with, that we're wanting to get out of it. Sherry probably closer to the 5.5. Bourbon probably the 6+ years, just because the sherry's it's an Oloroso cask. I mean, sorry, it's a PX sherry cask, which is going to be kind of the richest of the sherries that you're going to age in. We do have some Oloroso in house, but for this malt, we just have PX in there on the sherry side. What are you guys thinking? How you liking it?
I'm still a fan. I like the biscuity note, the sweetness. It's really, that little bit of sherry just kind of gives it that pop, but it's just so delicious.
Yeah, and I think this opens up quite nicely too. If you let it breathe a little bit, you'll get a bit more of the salinity come through. After that has a bit more air interaction. It also can go a little bit, you'll get to pick up a bit more of the orchard fruit undertones. It can kind of then go into that more like salted caramel. And I think that's more like the salinity in the air interacting with some of the kind of bourbon cask going on. So you'll kind of find that in a lot of our whiskey. You'll get a bit of that kind of salinity. Sorry, Michael.
No, that's
What were
okay,
you
man.
saying?
I'm curious what it would taste like without the sherry cask.
Yeah, fair point. I mean, if you ever go to the distillery, you can probably ask them. They'll probably find something for you to taste through. I've had So I was fortunate enough to go and actually buy a barrel from Dingle lately. Part of the reason I chose what I did is because they have some really excellent just straight bourbon casks. I remember going back to the small batch series. If you've had any of those, there's a single pot still that came off. I mean, this is a single malt, but I think their bourbon casks are really, really nice. So I have a pot still getting laid down in bourbon cask right now. Highly suggested. They're delicious spirits, but we haven't had a single bourbon maturation on the single malt side. That's come stateside. It's only been on the pot still side that you're able to get those still. But yeah, they're quite nice. But yeah, if you get to the distillery, make sure you ask them. I've definitely tasted components at some point, probably a few years ago. I couldn't tell you now what it tastes like, because I probably had enough whiskeys that day already, to be totally frank. But yeah, no, they have killer spirit, man. So it's delicious stuff. I'm sure at some point we'll have something on that front. So
Yeah, I got the salinity in it, but to me it was the sherry cask was a little like it kind of overpowered the salinity, and I kind of wanted more of that minerality, and
for sure.
um, but it's really good.
I mean, I say that, but at the same time, when we get to Lunasa, that's a double bourbon maturation. It basically starts with Life in Heaven Hill and then finish in Widow Jane. So we will get a chance to taste the malt in a bourbon cask. Now that I have said that, we actually do have that coming up eventually, but it is again two different bourbon casks. So hopefully you'll get to see how that interacts.
Awesome, thanks, man.
Yeah. Look, I talked about the town a little bit. Again, it's one of the warmest places as far as like just the spirit of it. I wouldn't say from the weather, it's definitely not one of the warmest places, but just as far as the nature of the town, the people are fantastic. It is Gael talked, so you see on a lot of our labels, if you've gone out and bought them, you'll start to see it pop up more. We're doing a slight tweak to some of our packaging in the coming years, not into the bottle, just a little bit more, kind of trying to tie all these things together. If you look at our brand on the shelf between the gin and the single malt and some of our LTOs, it looks like three different brands. We're just trying to get a little bit more consistency, but you will start to see some more Irish language come through. Dingle's Gael talked. All that means is it's Gael speaking. It's Gaelic speaking, Irish speaking. You wouldn't say Gaelic in Ireland. If you speak it, you speak Irish. And it is more than 6% of the population in the town that speaks Irish on a daily basis, and it would be their first language that they learn there as well. So culturally, very important. Honestly, even if they're speaking English, they all speak English in town. They speak kind of Irish, kind of between each other. Um, a lot, but Harry's notoriously known for quick, fast speakers. And so even if they are speaking English to you, you might think they're not. Just to call out there if you make it down there, especially can be pretty rural. They'll spend a lot of time with the sheep. So as it goes. But you saw some of the coastline there. Again, it's kind of on the sandstone cliffs. The harbor's a really beautiful place. Tons of bottlenose dolphins out there. There's puffins off on the Blaskets about 4 months of the year, kind of early summer into midsummer out there. The Blaskets used to be inhabited. They're now no longer inhabited out there, but their island's basically just off the tip of the peninsula. It's probably a 20-minute drive down the road from Dingle Town. If you go to the distillery, that's really the start of what's called the Slayhead Drive. It's part of the Ring of Kerry, but it's one of National Geographic's top 100 drives to do in the world. Ireland happened to have two of them, the other one being on the Giant's Causeway up in Northern Ireland, kind of near the Bushmills Distillery, if you know. So definitely some place to check out. It gets very busy during the summer, so book early, but it's an incredible place. That's the town. That's the kind of the nature of the area. The pubs are second class, or are second to none. I would say top class in the world as far as it goes. Dick Max having their 150th anniversary, being one of the best in the world as far as if you're looking for a pub. But the distillery itself, I guess we're kind of moving along here. So I wanted before I get to the distillery, I think if you guys are ready, we can jump into the second whiskey if that sounds good. I don't want to keep people's glasses empty. So yeah, cool. I'll finish this guy off. and we'll get into the Celtic series. I'll explain a bit more about this as we kind of get down the road as far as the whole series and what it means to the town, what it means to the Dingle Peninsula, and the distillery itself. But before I jump too far into what we do at the distillery, I'll explain a bit about Samhain. So Samhain, Samhain, is how you spell it. Obviously not pronounced like that, but it's just Halloween. So it's the pagan origin of Halloween is Samhain. It's more or less the Celtic New Year. So it's kind of the start of the year. It's people originally settling in for the winter. And it's when the time of the year where the veil between the living and the dead is thinnest. That's pretty common knowledge, but if you carve a pumpkin, the original tradition comes from Ireland. Is when they carved turnips. If we have a minute and we're really getting saucy, I may tell the story of Stingy Jack, but if you don't know it, look it up. That's kind of the story of how the turnip carving started, and the Irish got to the U.S. and realized that while that tradition is nice, pumpkins are a hell of a lot easier to carve than a turnip. So that's kind of more or less how that became a thing. The Celtic series, holistically, everything here is going to start its life in a bourbon barrel. Again, first fill cask, but each one of these whiskeys, whether single malt or single pot still, is going to start its life for about 5 years in a bourbon barrel. We say cask finish, but it's really double maturation on all these. It's at least 2 to 3 years then finished in a different cask type. That's kind of what differentiates all the whiskeys from each other. Samhain, this one, again, these are kind of made to meet the season that the holiday is in. Muscatel, Spanish, the sweeter variety, kind of get some honeysuckle notes, but it's the same grape as Italian Moscato, which is typically very sweet wine grape. The Spanish Muscatel tends to be a bit more mineral driven, I would say. But definitely still have some sweetness there. It's definitely, again, it still is Muscat grape. It still is, Muscatel. And so you're still get kind of that honeyed sweetness. I get even a bit of honeysuckle typically on this one. But again, Samhain, Halloween, all that stuff. It's kind of it's one of the fire festivals. The first four of these series will be the four main, not to be confused with Fire Fest. But the first four are the main fire festivals in the Celtic calendar, which I'll kind of get into explaining here in a minute. If you get to the distillery, to put into context, we fill about 4 casks a day doing 3 shifts full clip. That ends up being about 20 barrels, 20 casks filled every week. What we do in a year is what they do in less than a week over at Irish Distillers, where Bealtine comes out of Jameson, Bushmills, sorry, not Bushmills, Redbreast, Method and Madness, Powers, all those guys are done out of there. Bushmills obviously being up north and being the oldest distillery, licensed distillery in the world. But so just to put in context, our production is quite more limited. Some of that just has to do with our stills are smaller, but also it's fully manual distillery. So we have very little computerization. All the cuts are done by hand. So there's no computer telling you when to make your cuts. It's all kind of done by look and feel. Uh, that I would say gives us a unique perspective as far as the whiskeys we make. It gives a unique style. Our stills also, if you're curious, are a bit squatter, a bit wider than your typical stills. They're not quite as tall. It's partially to fit the building, but it also kind of gives a unique profile to our spirit as well, despite just being aged in Dingle. So the spirit's unique. Obviously, maturation's unique as well. But the manual cuts, I kind of like to compare it to barbecue. I would say to put in the like good context, like a good pit master is not putting a thermometer on their pit. They're probably doing it by hand feel, and that's the way they do it. There's a bit more tradition there, but also just a bit more. I would say, I mean, not it's in educated gut feeling sort of thing. Obviously you're going to know the temperature, so we're not getting any methanol in there. There's no like poisonous there's no wood spirit in there or anything like that. But again, as far as where the cuts are made, it's largely done by feel. And I think that also has kind of a unique effect on our spirits as well. So basically, I don't know if I said this, so apologies, I'm gonna repeat myself, but if you walk into a Irish distillery about 100 years ago, it would look much the same as what we do today. The mash tun, there's no, we're not clear. If I've actually been in the mash tun after every distillation, we're shoveling out spent grain. We're pulling it out. We're getting the rubber boots on, getting rolling our sleeves up and kind of getting dirty in there, as you'd say. But yeah, that's just kind of the long and short of it. We've got 5 oak fermenters as well. Again, our mash tun's Oregon pine, just like our Solera tank as well. So, um, any questions there?
I just tossed it in the chat, but I'm actually getting a sweet baking spice, almost like the British Christmas spice.
Yeah.
You would throw in your holiday cakes and such, and floral notes, which kind of surprised me. But I've got flour on the brain because I just did a whole bunch of infusions with nasturtiums. So
Okay. Yeah. Well, again, that could be, you can get some of that. I say honeysuckle from Muscatel, not honey, just because it is kind of more that flowery, kind of sweetness. So floral, I don't think is off. I'll occasionally get some raisins too, like yellow raisins, sort of thing. Not the purple kind, but yeah.
Yeah, sultana makes sense.
The nose seem a little more, I don't know, fresher, lighter than the palate, for me at least.
Fair enough. And just a note on these as far as ABV goes, all the malts are 50.5%. All the pot stills are 52.5. Just as a kind of overarching note, we want to do something that was near cask strength, sort of, kind of in between that 46 and a cask strength whiskey. Typically, whiskeys coming off are still at about 62, 63% going in barrels, and then most, about a 6-year-old cask is going to be high 50s into like 59, 60%. Just kind of FYI. So
yeah, I mean the Lunasa is 55. It says here 55.5.
I think that's a typo. It should be 50.5.
Tisk, Jane.
Sorry, I didn't mean to blow anybody up, but it's definitely
that's okay.
50.5%. So
that's probably me. I was looking at the bottles. I was a little cross-eyed when I typed these up, so we're all fair.
sure, especially if you're indulgent, I've done it myself.
Well, I was trying not to, but I was also with labels for 9 bottles.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. It's
For
all the vapors, all the vapors.
So here's what the boxes
the
look
most
like.
bottles we've had, I think, probably the most mini bottles we've had.
Oh, I forgot. You guys are doing we've got some funky stuff in there too.
Yeah, you got some barrel samples.
Yeah, you do. You do have some cask strength stuff in there. So save those for last. I don't know what each of you got. I don't even remember what I sent Vadim, but yeah, there's definitely, I think, PX pot still somewhere flying around. There's cognac cask. Oh, and then the tequila cask as well. I had a mezcal cask, but I didn't include that one. That one's fun, but it's very different. It actually is very minty. But anyways, I just threw those in for fun. I totally forgot that we were doing those today. But enjoy those as you will, honestly. So glad you have a lot to offer, but those are all going to be cask strength. So probably in the high 50s, I would say. Should be. Unfortunately, though, all those barrels have been sold. Those were leftover barrel samples that I had for some single casks. So there you go.
They were fun to pour. I'm smelling everything going, this just smells so good.
Absolutely. So just from a barrel composition, our distillery, it's about 40% sherry casks. Probably about 2/3 to 3/4 of those are going to be PX, and then the rest are mostly Oloroso. We have a bit of Finos, kind of jumping around in there. I don't know if we probably have some Amontillados, I think, as well. But outside, maybe, and also some Palo Cortados as well. But kind of year to year, I think we've actually sold a lot of the Palo Cortado barrels as single barrels for Descendants casks and stuff like that. But in general, 40% sherry casks, 40% bourbon casks, and then another 10% are port casks. In the last 10%, it's kind of there's some Madeira in there, some Marsala, there's some double distilled peated casks. There's all sorts of stuff. It's kind of experimental. We still end up selling those a lot of times. if people like them. Cognac cask would be another one. We didn't end up selling the tequila or the mezcal one. That was just purely for like R&D and for fun, as it were. So there's a little bit of that. We do try to, 10% of our casks are kind of piecemeal. Then we do try to actually monetize those at some point. You can't just be throwing out 10% of your whiskey. And another good portion of that kind of 10% would be some red wine barrels, which we've got some today to kind of throw in there. So, yeah, that's kind of our barrel composition. Just if you have a question, our warehouse is currently full of casks. We've kind of been trying to get ahead of production, again, allowing us to do stuff like a year-round single malt, a year-round pot still. We're going to have some age statements coming out. Once basically, this is what we have for the U.S. allocation of the Wheel of the Year series, the Celtic Wheel of the Year series. Next year, you're going to start seeing a 10-year-old show up. Beyond that, you'll start to see a 13-year-old single malt show up. And then followed by that will be some age statement pot stills as well, kind of as we get in the next 3, 4, 5 years. Not to tell you what's shiny and new, but we are going to start getting some age statements out there since, we're now 13 years old. So there you go. All right. Getting on to whiskey number 3. Any comments, questions, thoughts, prayers, whatever? Great. So, Lalla Breed, you have, there's 32 counties in Ireland. You do have 4 provinces. Each of those provinces are going to have their own dialects within Irish. And so, depending on who you ask, I might be saying that totally wrong or absolutely correct. But those are the 3 ways I know how to say it. All of them are, from what I understand, correct. Lalla, just day of breed, mean Bridget. So it's Day of Bridget, St. Bridget's Day. If you know who St. Patrick is, St. Patrick is the patron saint of Ireland. St. Bridget is the matron saint of Ireland, her feast day being on February 1st. This is named after the co-opted holiday. The original holiday is known as Imbolc. If you have, and basically that was just, when Catholicism and Christianity came to Ireland, they co-opted a lot of pagan holidays, being All Saints Day for Samhain, or All Souls Day, whatever they call it, and then St. Bridget's Day for Imbolc. Bealtine, I don't know what that is. It might be nothing, but anyways, some of them are co-opted, some of them not. Wren's Day would be another one, which is now St. Stephen's Day. If you see the Wren boy on our icon, on our icon, I can't ever say that word. That's near and dear to the town of Dingle. They have the biggest celebration of Wren's Day in the world. I don't know that there is another one out there, but 6 a.m. everybody gets out in the street. Every main bar in every street has its own colors and its own kind of wren, which is just after the bird. And it's very, again, kind of part of the local fabric is Wren's Day, or Rance Day, as they would say locally. And so that's why we have it kind of on all of our label. It's also part of the inspiration for all this series. We're only getting 5, as I said, in the US. There are 9 total releases. There's 8 actual holidays in the solar calendar for the Celtic Wheel of the Year. It's just the Celtic calendar. The 9th one is L'Androline, which is Wren's Day. So that's kind of the last release in there, just if you're curious. But back to Lalla Breed, St. Bridget's Day. This starts its life again in a bourbon cask, and then finished in Sagamore Rye Casks out of Maryland. So you honestly, if you taste it, I would say for single malt Irish whiskey, it's probably the closest thing to a pot still that you're going to get in single malt, and part of that's just due to the rye cask. I would say in a pot still, the unmalted barley that you have going in there typically lends itself to a similar spice that you're going to get on a rye. A slightly different mouthfeel. You're going to get a bit more, I would say, kind of richness. So you don't get as much of that kind of full coating of the mouth, but at least for the finish and the spice on there. The rye kind of is a bit of a false pot still kind of spice for me. And that's, again, just directly coming from that rye cask. So I love this whiskey. I think it's an excellent single malt. It actually might be my favorite malt in the series. You can disagree with me. Everybody's got a different palate. But for me, and we haven't even gotten close to being done. But there you go. I'm giving away my my own biases there. So
far, it's my favorite.
was that?
It's my favorite so far.
Oh,
Really good.
excellent. Excellent. So one last thing on St. Bridget's Day, Law of the Breed. You'll see this cross right here. That's a bad way to see it, but on the label there, that cross that's on the label, that is St. Bridget's cross. You'll see them if you walk into an Irish pub. If you look over a doorway, a lot of times you'll find one. It's woven out of I think it's barley stalks, I want to say, from that have been dried out. It's some sort of one of the stalks of a grain. It might be barley, it might be wheat. I actually can't remember. But they weave them out of there. Basically, if you went to school in Ireland, in elementary school, every St. Bridget's Day, you probably made one, and you probably hate making them. But with that being said, it is kind of a protection thing as far as for safety, and I think it's protection against, I don't know, maybe fires or something like that. I can't remember off the top of my head, but the reason is you'll see them over the doors is more for like a protection sort of thing. So if you walk in an Irish pub, you'll probably see barley and flax stocks. There you go. Thank you, Jane. You'll see them over, again, typically doorways. So a lot of times for St. Bridget's Day, I don't know if this is still a thing or if it's a thing everywhere. I know. So we talked about the 4 fire festivals. I think a lot of it's kind of not really a big fire festival. Like Samhain, they have 2 fires and they pass 2 big fires and they pass livestock and stuff through it for protection. A lot of times they'll burn the that and then make a new one for that year. Is from what I understand. So. Am I missing anything in the chat? Let's see. Cool. Just some good tasting notes. All right, great. Cool. So again, being Gale talked, we do actually have the Irish language on the front of the packaging. And it's made for a tough selling point, I'll say that much, but it is a fun kind of learning moment. When we get to Grinstad and Gira, I'll show you how that's spelled. And I'm saying that right, I know that for a fact, but if you tried to say that just looking at it phonetically, it doesn't make any sense. And the last 4 releases, they're all named after the solstices. So we have Grinstad on Gira, Connacht on 4, Grinstad on Saura, and Connacht on Erig. And so those are kind of tougher, I think, for people to understand. So that's why, honestly, we ended up just skipping to the age statements when they come in here as opposed to doing the full line, to be honest. But you can get them in Ireland, or at least you can some of them. So. But it's a lovely whiskey. We'll jump into the pot still if there's no complaints or anything. Yeah, Jane, there are a ton of letters. And actually, so one last note on the Irish language. You'll see sometimes the second letter in a word capitalized. That is actually the start of the word. The letter that comes before it is typically a carryover from the word before it, and it's meant to kind of link, I think, the sounds together. Again, I'm not an Irish language expert, but that's typically, I think, how that goes. So like I think Saura, it starts with a T, and I think the first letter is the lowercase t in it. And then a uppercase S. Anyways, there you go. Also, Jane, your last name is Kilkenny, so I'll use that as a great example. That's the anglicized version of Kilkenny. There is no K in the Irish language, so that's why typically C's are always hard C's. So if you go to Kilkenny, Kilkennig would be the actual name of the town. Yep, there you go. And that was anglicized to be Kilkenny. And if you're a hurler, it's a great place to be. Every tiny little guy that's running around is carrying a tiny hurl under his arm, walking around the town, kind of like that. It's culturally very important there. And if you haven't watched hurling, the finals are in late July, and it's a really fun time.
And they're way better than Mayo hurlers. I just have to say. Way better.
And they've had a good run recently. I mean, they've been, I think, well, last year they didn't make the All Ireland final. I think it was Clare versus Limerick, and Clare won. It was a hell of a game, actually. But anyways, that's besides the point. Limerick has also been pretty dominant. I think Limerick was going for 5 in a row, maybe, but Kilkenny is always a really strong contender. Dingle is not a big hurling or well, Kerry in general is not a big hurling town. Hurling county, it's big on Gaelic football. Which, funny enough, a lot of people think of Europeans as calling all soccer football. Irish still call soccer soccer because football to them is Gaelic football.
Yeah, those people are crazy.
Hurlers are even more wild. I mean, I can't believe they only started wearing helmets with full face masks like a few years ago. Like those guys are all hockey players, missing teeth left and right. You look at their fingers are all like broken and disjointed. Um, I mean, the way like if you have you guys ever seen a hurling match? So the hurls themselves is basically like if you took a field hockey stick and you took the end and you flattened it. And it's played, they say it's a beanbag, but it's really just a tiny baseball wrapped in leather, more or less. It's pretty hard. But it's full contact. These guys are breaking these solid ash hurls over each other's like shins, basically. And they commonly break during a game. And you'd think I'd be like, ash, I think is a pretty soft wood. You go and feel that, and I'm like, I would be on the ground for hours if someone cracked that over my legs. It's brutal. But anyways, it's a fun game. It's very fast paced. You should check it out. If you're in Ireland, I would say it's hard to get tickets to the All Ireland final. You typically have to be from the county or know someone with the inn. Um, but 2 weeks before that is a semifinal on Saturday and Sunday, and those are pretty easy to get, and it's at Croke Park, which it's the largest like soccer, non-football stadium, I think in Europe. It holds about 84,000 people. The NFL game that'll be there will be at Park in Crogie, or Croke Park, the Croker, as they like to say. So getting into Bealtine, again, well, this is going to be, I like it a lot. It's probably my favorite of the series, hence the bottle's drained, unfortunately, but enough for me to enjoy it with you guys. You also see hurls in a lot of Irish pubs as well, up there, out there. If hurling is the men's sport, Mogi is the women.
Mogi.
Yeah, there you go.
Mogi.
Is the women's sport. But anyways, that's besides the point. Yeah, it's something that if I want a good home security tool, a hurl could be my excuse to get one, just because I think they're fun too. If you actually do go to Kilkenny, tons of the pubs here, they offer, actually only a couple of them, they offer little hurling exhibitions sort of thing. Like you can go out there, they'll give you hurls, they'll give you a couple, I don't remember the name of the little ball. But they have a, there's a name for it. Anyways, you go out there, you can kind of pass to each other, try to, shoot on a goal, all that stuff. It's right next to the GAA stadium in town. If you want to experience it, it's a good way to do so. It's fun. It's fun. So yeah, Slitter. And a lot of S's in Irish are also, depending on where you're from, a lot of SHs. Yeah, Schlitter. Pretty sure that's how you say that. All right, Bealtine. It's our first single pot still release here in the US. From Dingle, they've had others, throughout Europe and throughout Ireland before. It was a weird kind of oversight. The labels they printed for the pot stills were not US compliant. That's the only reason we hadn't brought them here before. But this is our first single pot still release here stateside. I can get into a little bit about single pot still. Do you guys all know what the difference is between single malt and single pot still? I'm gonna go with the no, based on not everybody was okay, cool. That's great. That's great way.
Go for it.
Awesome. So single pot still, well, before I get there, part of the reason to be for Dingle was resurrected craft artisanal distilling within Ireland on kind of a really, again, small scale, handmade, handcrafted. It was the first distillery built in about 100 years that's doing both single malt and single pot still underneath the same roof. So that's kind of the a cool thing to kind of be doing. With that being said, single pot still, it is a GI protected So geographic indicator, protected style of whiskey. So single pot still has to be from Ireland, and it is protected with a very rigid technical file and what have you. Yeah, there is Shiraz, Australian Shiraz cask on here, and you do get some of that more red fruit, I would say, coming through from a flavor profile. I definitely get more of that kind of, ripe cherry, and even strawberries as well. But single pot still, so. I won't tell the whole history of Irish whiskey. Although if we want to dive into that, we certainly can. But basically, to try to put it a TLDR sort of thing, Ireland was the leading producer of single malt pre 1800-ish, right? But there's lots of illegal speakeasies. They call them sheebings across Ireland. They had, and that's actually, if you know what poachine is or poachine, that's basically Irish white dog. It's 100% barley, 100% malted barley, like White Lightning moonshine, if you will. That was created in these kind of illegal sheebeen speakeasies. They had a little pot still. Poachine, being little pot, basically, is what that means. And it's from those kind of little speakeasies. And it was more or less like, it was a pretty big business. And whiskey distilleries were selling up to about 30% of their total output to these little speakeasies, for sure. So at the time, the British government was ruling Ireland, and their taxes were on the output. So however much whiskey you're selling, you were taxed on. If I'm selling 30% of my whiskey to a speakeasy, I'm certainly not telling the government about it, and therefore I'm not paying taxes on it. And so at that time, Ireland was making only single malt whiskey, or malt whiskey rather. The pot still was not a thing at all. So what the British government does or did then, in 1785, was they instituted the malt tax. And what the malt tax did was in order to not lose out on the taxes on people not reporting selling it illegally, they taxed the input. So they started taxing malted barley, and the Irish, ever finding a loophole to get around taxes, they started using unmalted barley. So that's more or less how single pot still was created. The traditional kind of mash bill, which is what we use for our single pot stills, is about 50% malted barley, 50% unmalted barley, or non-malted barley. We don't unmalt it; it just doesn't ever get malted. And so that was cheaper at the time to do. It was a tax loophole, as I said. But nowadays, it takes a lot more grain to actually. I mean, there's not nearly enough sugar to get an effective fermentation going, or an efficient fermentation going on when you're making the wort. So it actually is quite a bit more expensive to make single pot still versus a single malt whiskey nowadays. So if you do look on the shelf, typically if you see a single pot still, it's going to be a slightly higher price than a commensurate like single malt. And the reason is it's just more expensive to produce. But at the time it was a loophole. People have a lot of hard time understanding what single pot still is, partially because it used pure pot still up until 2014. Both single malt whiskey and single pot still whiskey in Ireland have to be done and produced on a copper pot still. It has to be, batch distilled. It cannot be done on a continuous column still. If it is, just like Scotland, it's called a grain whiskey. So that is kind of confusing, but more or less think of single pot still as a daughter of single malt, right? So it was more like a derivation of single malt, and mostly really just as a loophole for taxes. You can nowadays, this is more nuanced, but you can nowadays add up to 5% of other grains in there. So rye, corn, what have you, wheat. But the traditional blend would be 50-50 malted barley to non-malted barley, if you will. So just a little bit about that. Just like Scotland as well, for its technical file, both single pot still and single malt whiskey can be double or triple distilled. So, but historically, Irish has been more triple distilled. Like Scotch whiskey has been more double distilled. But both can do both. Famously, Auchentoshan out of Scotland, all their whiskeys are triple distilled. Similarly, with Tyrconnell, Kilbeggan, and Connemara, those are double distilled. in Ireland. So there's always exceptions to the rule. They are still, totally fine. Kilbeggan famously double distilled single pot still whiskey. So. I didn't mean to get into a history lesson there. Sometimes I end up these conversations going the way of I've gotten to like the socioeconomic effects of British taxation on single malts throughout the world. And I try not to do that, but sometimes, again, just like glassware, it ends up happening.
That's a whole
It's all good, man.
It's fun. I find it fun. I like to talk about it. It'll happen. So, no more history lessons. I'll try to stop myself.
Bealtine has to be one of my favorites. Just in general, just because it's so funky.
Mm-hmm.
It's got a lot of different notes in it, and it changes constantly as you're sipping through the glass. And if you leave it sit open for a while, it's completely different again when you go back to it. So I just find it fascinating.
Absolutely. Look, the one thing that well, not the one thing. One of the things I like about Dingle is that the whiskey's all good. It is quite different cask to cask. But I mean, look, I'm biased, of course, but I do think they're putting out some of the most unique spirits in Ireland. And Henrik, I think I see you added some water. Feel free to do that, of course. Absolutely, at almost 53%, you're going to open up a bit of the bouquet, loosen it up just a little bit. So feel free to do that. On all these, really, 50 is not, anything to laugh at either. So. Single pot still. One thing I didn't talk about was I talked about it a little bit before, but the unmalted barley, that's going to give, again, a more rich mouthfeel. I would say like a thicker texture for sure, and also more spice. If you put a single malt Irish whiskey at 40% triple distilled versus a 40% single pot still, triple distilled single pot still Irish whiskey next to each other, if you drank them both without knowing the ABV, you'd probably think that the single pot still is hotter, like a little bit higher now in ABV, and that's just because the unmalted barley adds spice and also extends the length of the whiskey. So the finish is going to kind of drop down on the chest and come across just as being a little bit hotter. Just spirit to spirit. Any questions on this or anything else so far? The distillery, Irish whiskey, the troubles, whatever. Just a bit of cultural education. Two things you shouldn't order in Ireland would be, number one, an Irish car bomb. A lot of people have relatives who were killed by one, but it still happens, especially in the Temple Bar area. And number two, Black and Tan. The Black and Tan were responsible for the original Bloody Sunday, which was at actually Croke Park. So not great things historically within Ireland to do, especially if you're up north, particularly.
Wait, I don't understand. Black and tan. Why?
Yeah,
I mean, why not order that?
Black and Tans were British, basically conscripts that were dressed in black and tan uniforms. And
Gotcha.
they basically, so if you know Michael Collins, he took a bunch of Irish police that were with the British government, and also just basically loyalists, more or less. He pulled a bunch of like high-ranking officers out in the street, more or less murdered in cold blood. But Michael Collins is very much an Irish hero of independence, things like that. But it was not a very nice act to do. But in retaliation, that day, it was either that day or the next day, it was actually the hurling final at Croke Park in Dublin. The British government sent the Black and Tans into the All Ireland final. Most of the folks who were on hurling teams were largely suspected, but probably were members of the IRA. And they fired actually upon the crowd and the game as it was happening. It actually, if you're in Dublin, go to Croke Park. They actually have a great museum down in the basement that kind of tells the story about all that. There were, I think, 3 or 4 Bloody Sundays. The U2 the song Bloody Sunday is not about that Bloody Sunday. It's about the one I think in the 70s or 80s. But that was like the original one that was just after, or just during the I think it was 1912, so it was right before the Irish War for Independence, which started in 1916. So not to get into, again, I brought up the troubles and here I am talking about it. So
But that's good advice, because that probably would be something I would do. I've come to really enjoy a half and half, or
yeah, or a 50-50, half and half, whatever it is. That's typically, look, someone's going to serve it to you. It gets a little bit more hairy if you go, especially in the north side of Dublin, or up to up to like Northern Ireland.
I think I'll just stick to a Guinness and call it a day.
Yeah, there you go.
There's nothing wrong with a good port Guinness.
For sure. And here in San Francisco, I could probably give you my top 5. And it's all pretty much tequila based, but actually not San Francisco. I would say in the Bay Area, which is where I'm based. So, but a good Guinness, it's hard to beat it, especially in Ireland. So,
right.
Well,
it's the texture.
Yep, bread in a bottle.
Yeah, and look, it's having a moment right now, for some reason. But it is one of the lower calorie, lowest ABVs beers on the market, I guess you would say, outside of like a C-, Coors Light.
Good name for it.
I love it. Oh, my brother gave me that one. I'm not going to take credit for it. Whiskey number 4, Lunasa. So Lunasa, celebration of kind of the end of summer and the start of harvest. It's very important. If you go back to pagan days in Ireland, very important holiday, because if you have bad harvest, you're probably not going to make it to Samhain. You're probably going to die of hunger, starvation, whatever. So big celebration. And then again, it's kind of the start of the harvest. It's for the good bounty of the year. So I think the holiday is around August 1st. It might be August 15th, somewhere in that range. It might be September 1st. It's somewhere in that 30-day range. I can't remember right now because I think I've had enough whiskey to make me start forgetting things. But this one, double maturation, Heaven Hill Casks, bourbon casks to start, finished in Widow Jane bourbon to finish. And that's we print that on the label. So the Widow Jane cask, you can read it right there. But that's kind of the long and short of it. So Michael, you're gonna get your bourbon maturation with the single malt here today, right here. There you go. I didn't show you Bealtine as far as what the symbol is. It's the flower. Again, it's kind of the start of spring and the growing season. So that's what that comes from. Lunasa being harvest. It's sheaves of wheat. That's good. If you are following along, basically this is this is the easiest way to put it. That is the wheel of the year. That's the Celtic calendar. All the holidays all in a row. We basically interspersed them in here as the solstices and equinoxes. But the first 4 fire festivals, and then we looped around and did the solstices and equinoxes again. So we don't do them chronologically. It's gonna on here skip every other and then kind of go back and fill in the rest. And they start silver, and as they go by, they turn gold on the labels. Let's see here. What else on that? We did, let's see, there's about 1,200 bottles here in the US of each of these, just as an FYI, as far as it goes. If you want to collect them all, I can help you find those, but the last 4 did not come to the US. So number 4 and number 5 will land here later this year, and then the other 4 you'll have to kind of go search for across Ireland and Europe, unfortunately. It's funny. I don't know how well you guys know Cavalon. That's another thing in our portfolio. But with this whiskey, I think it's just because I opened the bottle. I think it'll open up a bit more. But right when I open some Cavalons, I think it's just the nature of their spirit. I get like almost like a sweet tarty kind of note on it. And right when I kind of put my nose on this one, I got a little bit of that to start as well. Someone said toffee, dark fruits. bitter chocolate. I'm sure that's accurate. I'm not quite there yet. I think I just popped this, so it just got opened maybe an hour ago. So it's probably a little tight for me. You probably had a little bit more time for it to aerate, which is gonna probably do it a few favors.
I'm getting a slight red stone fruit thing too.
No, fair enough.
But other than that, I do agree with Michael on that. Yeah.
And thanks for that. Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, I think that's probably what Michael you meant by the dark fruits. I mean, yeah, maybe dates, something like that.
I'm picking up some stone fruit as well, like as it kind of progresses, like even some apricots or things like that, for sure.
You get a lot of barley sugar. Ginger, a little chocolate. I mean, I was getting like a mixed berry and lemon sorbet on the nose. Then you get a little bit of that lemon that goes through it.
It's funny you say ginger. I would say like on a lot of like good pot still whiskeys, I get like some of that spicy kind of even candied ginger coming through, and I think you're absolutely spot on with that here for sure. I mean, not that I'm not an end all be all by any means. Again, as I said, everybody's got their own palate, so I love to hear everybody's thoughts.
I mean, of all the ones we've had thus far, this is the one that hits it for me.
I think that's the beauty of I mean, whiskey and whiskey tastings in general is that everybody's got a different palate. Everybody's got knows what they like, and it's going to be pretty different. So I love that
As I very often say, it would be fucking boring if we all drank the same thing.
for sure, for sure. Well, there'd be a lot less whiskeys out there, I think, in general.
Fair.
So
Yeah. Yep.
again, that's the fun thing of this whole series is the fact it's the same spirit coming off the same still in a similar environment. Started its life the same way and finished in something totally different, and that kind of gives its own life. So.
It's one of the things I find super fascinating with whiskey, right? I mean, and I think we had a tasting with some guys, right? They bought a barrel, and then they took that barrel and divided it in three and finished in three different kind of things. I mean, it was literally the same aged spirits, and they did that with that. To me was just kind of, I mean, it doesn't get more fascinating and interesting than that.
No, for sure. I mean, you talk to well, you can't talk to him anymore, but Jim Swan, Dr. Jim Swan, kind of the Einstein of whiskey as they called him, and he was very much like a maturation maniac. I mean, he's a guy. I mean, you look at Kavlan, Penderin, Milk and Honey out of Israel. He was kind of like the guy who was like, all right, I'm going to take, what I know from, all my experience in Scotland and maturation and try to apply it to this local environment, this local area, and try to make the best whiskey that I can with these local distilleries. And that was the coolest thing that I think, that was about him was he was just like, everywhere's going to be different. But also like every whiskey needs to be different and how are you going to adapt it to the local environment to create a really good whiskey that's also unique. And I think all that kind of plays into this more recent, there's been an explosion of non-traditional origin whiskeys. And I think that's all fun for different reasons as well. So,
right.
This is a really interesting, it's a lighter, almost cleaner palate just on mouthfeel alone. It's not as heavy.
But the legs on it, I mean, are
It's got great legs on it.
Yeah, the viscosity is just, I mean,
well, it's also
and
funny.
they all.
No, sorry, go for it. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, I was just gonna say, all of them has a really thick legs, and the viscosity is just kind of amazing on them.
The one thing I was gonna say is it's also tough going from a pot still at 52.5 back to a malt at 50.5. It's probably not the order I would also choose but this is the order I chose, so it is my fault. But also, like, you're gonna get a pretty different, I think, palate feel just also doing the comparison like front to back as well. So I think that's fair to say. Let's see. What else can I tell you about Dingle? I guess, are there any questions about the distillery, what we're doing, or kind of anything that we're looking to do, or anything like that?
Can I ask if you have any other like out of the box finishes that you thought of, like, going from tequila to mezcal? Do you have something?
Oh, I think I lost you there, Jane.
Yeah,
But
me too.
I'll try to answer the question. Um, well, this is unfortunately being recorded, but no one's gonna call me out for it. We are probably releasing a peated cask here in the next year, and I'm very curious to see how that ends up coming to life. I don't know if it's triple or double distilled at this point, but it'll be very fascinating to kind of see how that comes to life. When it comes to peat, I love peated whiskey, especially at the end of the night, not necessarily to start it, just because it is typically a palate wrecker. But Isla's great. I have a lot of respect for whiskeys coming out of Isla as well. The like kind of heavy iodine peated whiskeys, I like, uh, but some of these that have a bit more. Sometimes it happens with sherry casks, especially, and I'm already a sucker for sherry casks as it goes. But it almost gets like a more mesquite kind of note to it. Anyways, like I'm curious to see how that all ends up kind of coming to life. Given what I know about Dingle, it's something that's totally out of the ordinary for what I know it had, or what my experience has been with Dingle so far. So that's going to be something that we're coming out with. I don't know. I say the next year. It might be the next 18 months, but it is coming. So
Yeah,
they Elliot, the managing director there, the owner, he told me that it's coming out in the next year. But then I'm like, well, by the time it gets to the U.S. and out to market, it's probably more like a year and a half. So.
right.
Hunter, can you say why maybe there aren't a lot of peated Irish whiskeys?
Oh yeah, sure, absolutely. It actually just goes back to what's there. I mean, it's a lot easier to, I mean, what people heat their homes with, it's typically how you kiln something. So, I mean, there's not, if you look at like the history of Highland Scotch, there's not a lot of trees. So you're not going to kiln your whiskey with wood. So, I mean, you use peat bogs because that's how they're heating their home. Like that's just, it kind of comes down to just environment. And in Ireland, it was rich with forest before the British government used them all for shipbuilding. But just historically, not a heavily, you're not using peat for heat. So that's just kind of historically why it hasn't been part of the malting process here, more or less.
So that then begs the question of where is the peat coming from that's being used for, because I think it's like off the top of my head, the only ones I know of are Connemara and Mickle does do peated whiskey.
Yeah, Tillian has her black pit, stuff
Yeah.
like that. So
Oh, yeah.
that's not the Silky also does a lot of peated whiskey out of Ireland, but it's just what's kind of common, and not necessarily a rule. I mean, there's plenty of peat bogs in Ireland as well. It just wasn't as commonly used for heat source. Is all. So there still are peat bogs. It's coming. You can still get peat in Ireland, but you just don't have trees and parts of Scotland, so you have to use peat. Or you don't have trees, so you have to use peat in kind of some of these more remote areas of Scotland. So yeah, good question though. Good question. And I know you were on the Aaron tasting. You've got some Aaron in the background as well. The Lag distillery that we talked about last time. There's peat bogs on the west coast of Aaron too. So like you kind of can find peat bogs everywhere. All peat is early oil, more or less. It's so there you go. Very nice. Is that the
Yes.
Kilmori or the yeah,
Yeah.
it's Kilmori right there.
Yeah,
Yeah, very nice.
it's effing delicious, is what it is.
That's very good. Very nice, Jason. Appreciate that.
Well, it's as I always say about whiskey, it's a very delicious, sometimes expensive hobby.
Absolutely, but at least you're drinking it, you know.
That's what it's made for.
I I probably told this story before, but I know Booker No was famous for not signing bottles. People asked him to sign a bottle of whiskey, and he goes, "If I sign it, you're not going to drink it, so therefore I'm not going to sign it."
Nice.
All right, should we
Hear
get
that?
on to?
Hear
What's
that,
that?
Jason?
Say that again. What?
If you sign the bottle, you don't drink it. Wasn't it you that had that that dilemma?
Yes, yes, I do. I have it's box and bottle signed.
Well, so the box is signed. That means you can open
Yeah.
the bottle.
So that means, yeah, I mean,
Yeah, that's right.
That's right.
Rachel Berry signed the bottle and the box.
Yep.
So you could open the bottle.
All right, we'll get into, if you don't mind, just the last of the kind of official whiskeys here tonight. So Grinstad on Gira. Let me see if I
There
can
you go.
pop up the name here on the.
I just tossed it in the chat.
Oh, very good. Appreciate that. So yeah, Grinstad on Gira is how you say that. Or at least that's what I've been told by many people. So if I'm wrong, again, there's enough dialects in Ireland that I could be wrong, but this one seems to be pretty common as far as there's not a lot of controversy about how I say it. Like the Samhain, there's a bit of a minutia to it. And if you go to Scotland, and there's Gale regions of Scotland as well, also on the west coast, they would say things slightly differently. Samhain can also just be sound. Like if you took the word sound and just dropped the D, that's another way to kind of say that as well. Just going backwards. So Grinstad on Gira, winter solstice. Again, kind of some more warming spices here. This is finished in a Tawny Port Cask, is what the finish is. Again, in case you forgot, it starts its life in a bourbon cask for the first 5 years or so, and then finished in double maturation for about 3 years or so in Tawny Port. So you definitely get still, it's not as rich in color, I would say. Not rich in color, that's like a bad way to put it, but it's not as red, or like you don't get as much of that kind of ruby red color as you get in the Bealtine, the Shiraz cask, but you definitely get some of those kind of more amber undertones, I would say, is how it kind of comes through. But again, everything natural color, so we're not adding anything to make it look any certain way, but yeah, here you go. Cheers, everybody. Sláinte, as you say.
Sláinte.
I know we're probably due for a survey here pretty soon.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm curious to see how it goes. I know I've tried my best not to influence people. But in photo, don't worry, Jason, we'll get one for sure. I know people have other whiskeys to have. So there you go.
Yeah, we've still got the 3.
For the record, I have tasted all those. I just don't have them here with me because the bottles got sent. So, and I didn't keep any for myself because I'm very generous.
Fabulous, kind person. You should have said something. I would have sent them to you.
No. I already forgot that we even were putting anyways, it's all good. I appreciate it though.
Ooh, too bad they're empty.
Jane, is that the order we tasted them in?
Probably not.
Okay, good, because you confused me.
No, because I typed it up early. So
Good. That way I'm not wrong with what I thought I really liked the best.
Last thing, go to Dingle. It's an incredible place. And let me know if you are there. Please make it a weekday. If it's a weekday, I can certainly get you set up at the distillery for a tour. We'd love to show you around. If you're under 18 or if someone in your party is under 18, it is a little trickier. Again, talked about being a manual distillery. It is fully manual. There's forklifts running around, all that stuff. We try to keep, kind of A minors off the floor. But again, if you're there, I'm happy to set you up and help you out with the tour or whatnot. So, or give any tips and tricks for the town. I get out there. I try to get out there once a year. I wasn't there last year, but I'll be there again in September. But truly one of the most incredible, one of the most unique and wonderful places in the world. So
I didn't make it to Dingle
hey,
Distillery
it's
the
another
last
reason to
time I
go
went
back.
there, but I made it to the peninsula and I was like, I could stay here for a week.
My uncle was just out there and like he didn't know. I mean, I talked to my uncle plenty, but he knows I work in the industry, but he doesn't know I work on Dingle. And he was like, this place is awesome. And I'm like, that's Dingle. And he's like, yeah, I'm right here. I'm like, oh my God. I just kind of ended up going on a whole tangent about how much I love the place. So I'm very lucky to be able to represent their brands here in the US. They're not only amazing people, but it's an amazing place that's doing a really bang up job on all their spirits. So if you're a gin fan, I'd highly encourage that too. It's on the floral spectrum, I would say, for a gin. But it's also lovely. Everything coming out of there is fantastic. So
I was at
I think we've
Dingle.
done.
Me and my wife were at Dingle for a year in 2017 and went to the distillery, and she really loves the vodka. Great town. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
The vodka's nice.
Yeah. Yeah. So it looked like everybody made it on the poll. Do you want to take a guess, Hunter, on what took the top of the poll, so to speak?
I appreciate you giving me the offer, but I'm gonna go with Breed. Oh wow, that's actually not what I expected. Of course.
Yeah. The funny thing is, like, Samhain has 3, everybody else has 2, and Breed had 1.
Here you go.
Like,
Well,
fascinating.
I was Breed. I really liked that one.
I liked all of
it's a
them.
great whiskey. And they're all great. It's nice actually. The best part about this is a lot of times there's a far and away winner. It's very well dispersed. And I think that again goes back to just they're all great whiskeys, but they're all very different, and everybody's going to have a different take on them, and that's the fun part of it. So,
I mean, I also think it's one of those. I mean, today for me it was Lasana, but I could also see myself picking the Gheimhridh, the grandson of Gheimhridh, another day, right? I mean, those to me were very close.
fair enough. Fair enough.
I do like all of them, and I definitely had some opinions. I think I would have possibly picked Lunasa, but I do like the Grinstad and Gheimhridh also. So it's a
So
top.
it's a sleeper too. Like as far as again having a double maturation bourbon, and it does lend itself nicely to just again it adds an extra depth of flavor with that second cast still. So again, they're all great. You can't go wrong. Jason, it's good to see you as always. But who else is you're a pretty frequent member of at least where I'm on here. Jordan also good to see you as always. You've been surprisingly quiet, by the way. But that's fine. No worries. No pressure.
Been expecting Jordan notes, but you just came off trial, so you're probably tired of talking.
Yeah, I just came off a 6-week trial, so this is my first
Oh,
one.
fucking A.
So, yeah.
All
So
right.
you know what I'll say about it is always like Irish whiskey is very easy to drink, and what's interesting here is like a lot of other things in our portfolio, the essential flavor stays, but this is very much the most interesting as far as changes within that while maintaining the core taste. I mean, Writer's Tears I love so much. You know, some of the other stuff that you in your portfolio I love a lot. This definitely oscillates the most as far as just having different tastes, but still that core flavor comes through. Like I could tell that it's Dingle, but it's really, really good.
Awesome. Glad to hear that. And congrats for finishing up the trial. Hopefully, I think you said you're done. Yeah.
Done, thankfully.
All right. Very good. Very good.
One of the
Good to see
things
you as always.
that I thought was interesting is a lot of whiskey brands, a lot of distilleries, blenders, bottlers will do the whole finished thing, especially on the corn side of things, which Jordan and I are big corn fans. and I cannot stand finished whiskey, finished bourbon, and finished rye is just not for me. Aside from double barrel or charred barrel finishings, that sort of thing.
Sure.
But on the whiskey side of things, on the single malt blended whiskey type stuff, I can do finishes, but wine finishes generally aren't for me. I could tolerate these. I could drink these. I wouldn't buy them. But what I liked about them is that sometimes it's like, oh, it's finished in this, and then you don't taste it. Oh, it's a Cabernet finish, but you don't really taste the Cabernet, or it's a port finish, but you don't really taste the port. With these, you taste them. You get what they're finished in. It's not, it's like that phrase, say it with your chest. You guys are doing it.
Appreciate that. Look, I mean, it's again, I think that lends itself to just our dedication to using, again, pretty much first fill casks. Like you're gonna get you're not checking a box. You're actually trying to put the influence in there and have it be apparent. At the same time, we're not all about, going back to what Jordan was saying. We still try to keep a profile that's true to Dingle as far as our kind of our stills and whatnot. But you're gonna get the barrel on there. Like you are gonna understand where it's coming from. So I appreciate you saying so. Thanks, Michael.
Do you want to talk about the barrel samples at all? Do we have
Of course.
that we should go through them?
Yeah. Look, did everybody get everyone? Holy shit. Okay. Good luck. I wish you well on your exploration through tasting through all three of the cask strength whiskeys from here on out. But I think it's a tough one. I might save tequila for the end because it is just kind of an outlier. Um, I would probably go cognac and then pot still PX sherry, which is going to be heavily oxidized. As far as like you get a lot of that oxidized PX sherry, and then the tequila casks because again it's so far out of the norm. But yeah, let's do that. Let's go cognac cask. Um, it's a VSOP, I know that. And it's about a 6 or 7 year old whiskey. So again, I haven't tasted in a while, so I'm not going to speak to the individual tasting notes of all these. But what I can say is that we have a pretty robust single cask program. And that's really just now making its way stateside. You'll start to see more like probably at folks like K&L or even your Mission Wine Spirits and sort of things like that, key retailers. Benny's right now has our first two single casks that we sold stateside. They've got a Tawny Port and a I think it's PX Sherry, single malts, both of them. But all that's to say is our single cask program is very robust. Globally, you'll find a lot of kind of limited series, but they're really only about 200 bottles or so is what we're getting out of most of these casks. So where you see them, you'll find them. I'll pick one up if you have the opportunity, kind of thing. They're typically about 150 to 180 bucks out there. All these ones, with the exception of the tequila cask, are going to go to a U.S. retailer at some point. So they're all being kind of signed up for and tasted through, but they'll be exclusive to an individual retailer, whether that's in New York and New Jersey or whatnot. Astor out of New York ships nationally. They're typically a customer that we'll have some things with as well. But we continue that program partially because if you don't know how the distillery was founded or funded, it was really through what we call the Founding Fathers casks. And it was 500 casks we sold to largely Irish customers. About 10% of those were US customers, like just individuals like yourselves. We sold casks to. What that did was more or less before the spirit was even made, it allowed us to actually build out the distillery that we have today. And so to kind of keep that spirit going, we have Descendants cask, which is again new make. So you're gonna have to wait at least 8 years if you buy one of those. But we do a variety of single casks every year, and these are kind of a smattering of a sampling of a very wide variety of casks that we have, to use in some of those. So just kind of across the board, fun examples for you to taste through. But they are pretty rich in ABV, but because they are going to be a cask strength or barrel samples. So there you go.
Yeah, this is very
Cognac.
creamy.
Yeah, yeah. Are you having the cognac right now?
Yeah, it's very creamy. Got a little bit of sweetness. The cognac really comes through. Um, some spice. It's really punchy. I like it.
I believe that is heading to maybe Julio's in Massachusetts. So probably in a few months or so, should come up. But yeah, cognac's interesting. I mean, it's not an area that I knew very well before coming on to my job now about 5 years ago. Um, we had the pleasure of selling Hein cognac here stateside. And that's really kind of what got me into a bit more exploration within that category. But that's not what's used on this barrel. For the record, it's not Hein cognac, so I couldn't tell you who the producer is. But again, you do get some of those kind of more interesting notes from kind of that pressed grape. Even a bit. Well, I'm not going to try to pretend like I remember what it tastes like, but glad to hear that. Thanks, Jane. Any other thoughts on that? If I can go
I mean, the
scroll down
nose was
just a little bit.
absolutely fantastic. I didn't necessarily taste the cognac, but I'm not a cognac drinker, so I'm not sure what I was looking for.
Fair enough.
Really
Look,
good.
yeah, sorry, go for it.
No, I was saying it was really good. I mean, I really enjoyed it. Half an ounce is not enough.
To be fair, half an ounce is never enough. So there you go. So that's how that goes. But glad to hear it.
I screwed up and tasted the tequila first by accident. So
What were your thoughts on it?
I
It's
put
a
it in the
weird one.
chat. The cognac was really good, but I tried it after the tequila because I wasn't paying attention to where I put glasses. But the tequila, well, I'll just wait. It's in the chat, but I'll wait. We can talk about it when we have it. That's good.
I think the cognac cask is just really well balanced.
Yeah.
It's a nice barrel. Again, it's unfortunately all these casks have been sold now to again tequila cask. Where like it's fun to Michael's point, but it's not in the wheelhouse as far as what we're typically doing. Michael Anderson, PVWs, educate me a little bit.
I think they got busted. There was it was either 60 Minutes or something with they did, where they were investigating counterfeit high-end bottles, and they found a bottle at Astor's of Pappy Van Winkle that was not legitimate.
Oh, Pappy Van Winkle. Fair enough. Was that Astor? It could have also been well, again, I don't know the story you're talking about, but what's the one further uptown? Sherry Lehman.
I think it was. Let me. I'll do a quick Google, but
yeah, toss it. I'm curious about it, just for my own knowledge. Jason, yes, the PX cask, but I think is Benny's PX cask malt? Hold on. I'm gonna.
Yes, yeah, it's the PX. It's
Is that-
it's
is
their
that
own pick of the
Vinny's-
single malt PX cask.
Is that the one in Chicago?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're in Chicago. It's ridiculous. They're 8 hours away from me, and they will not ship this way.
Well,
Really?
I mean, I know somebody who's speaking at a conference in 4 weeks.
Do you?
By the way, it says 9-year-old on there. It's like 9 years and 10 months, just for the record. And that's a single malt. So the one you're having, the PX cask, is single pot still that you have there.
Mm-hmm.
which I think is going to New Jersey.
God damn it.
Couple things. One, I believe it was Colonel Taylor bottles that were counterfeit, not Pat Von Winkle. And I don't think it was Astor. I was just Googling real quick. I think Acker Merrill Condit, but it was like counterfeit. I think like, one of those like weird, hard to find Colonel Taylors. And then second, cognac, I'm always not dubious of, but I feel like it does a really good job like rounding edges. And I feel like a lot of like not as good bottles are sort of finished in cognac because it doesn't do what rum does to me, which is just pour sweetness all over it, but it pours
for sure
to kind of like do it. But it's really nice to take like, but when a good distillate is finished in cognac, I feel like they sort of hold hands together in a really lovely way, which I'm definitely getting here. But I'm excited for the tequila because I'm trying to think. Sagamore did a tequila, I believe, which I've had, and then somebody else did tequila also, and I always the tequila.
Ryder Steers did a single pot still in a tequila cask.
Yeah,
Dude, I've hated every tequila finish I have had until this one.
The Sagamore one I really did. I felt like they like didn't. I don't know how to say this. They didn't like merge. I just like tasted rye, and then it was like hand off that tasted tequila. Like I didn't.
I remember. I think I was on that tasting, and I was like, "This is not good."
Lagavulin did a tequila cast for one of their distillers editions. I think it was 23. Henrik would know because he's the Lagavulin. He's the peak guy. He'll know.
Yeah, but no, they did PX. I don't have the tequila one, or maybe I do, and maybe that's the one I don't care for. I got.
I'm curious to see is if anybody does the Pachuga cask, or because I've heard of someone actually doing it. No, it might have been a rum. Someone did a Pachuga style, either rum or whiskey, which you're like, what's Pachuga style? And I think they just put a whole raw turkey carcass in the distillate.
Sure. That's one way to do things.
Pachuga can be good and it can be weird.
So I've been lucky enough to only have like good Pachuga. I think I'm like it's savory but still, I mean it's typically mezcal and smoky and and to a certain extent. But I think that extra I guess animal fat I don't know does it for me.
I'm with you. I've mostly had really good ones.
I'm sure there's absolutely awful and horrifying ones. There's got to be them out there.
I don't want to know what those taste like.
No, I don't either. Don't need to.
Jordan,
I'm not looking for
Jordan,
taste everything.
You were right. Jordan, you were right. It was Acker.
Yeah, right. And it was
part of a collection that they purchased from a private collector.
Yeah. There's
a private collector made out, huh?
There's a whole documentary on Netflix about this like guy who was making fake wines and
and
it was the Koch brothers. It was the hardest thing about it is like halfway through the documentary I was like, I don't know who the fuck I'm supposed to be rooting for. I'm not rooting for the Koch brothers here.
right? Yeah, what would you want to?
So I guess am I rooting for this fucking like guy who's
scumbag? Yeah,
I guess. And then there's this like FBI agent, and I was like, okay, I root for her. Like she seems, I guess I'll root for her because I was like having real trouble. I tried the tequila one. It is like a video game version of playing pinball on my palate. Like just you pull back the like sipping it. It's like it's just fucking hidden everywhere. I kind of dig it, but it is weird.
It's very different. Like again, there's a reason that they were like, we're gonna put this out there. They're like, it's interesting. It might be good, but it's just different. So
it is different.
And like maybe next time I still have the mezcal cask sitting on my desk, but maybe one of these down the line we'll throw that in because that one's like also as far as like Dingle Spirit goes, like that was the weirdest like most, like not in a bad way. It was the weirdest thing I've ever tried. It's like it tastes
Could
like
see that.
like spearmint orbit almost. Like it's like
Yeah.
it's bizarre.
It's interesting because I am getting a spearmint taste. It's something about the Irish and
The-
tequila equals mint.
Well, I think it's just the agave typically is pretty they're vegetal, as it goes. Like just the spirit itself, like before you put in a barrel and things like that, like it tends to come off like in that sense, and so that's probably some of that. That's again not having tasted it for 6-8 months or so. So
You want me to send you samples?
no. It's totally fine.
Send you a
I
bottle of
appreciate it though.
Just do it anyways, James.
He's probably I got enough.
Funny enough, Jordan, I do have some Malort also on my desk, unfortunately. It's like like when someone new from Ireland especially comes over here, because this made its way, like there's a bar near my office that serves Malort. It's gotten a bit more widespread these days. I mean they don't serve it, it's on the bar. But it's always a rite of passage for me, especially like if I land in Chicago as well. I'm like, we're hitting it at least
We're
once. And it tastes like bile to me. Take it as you will, but I always make someone who's new to the U.S. have some Malort.
Cool.
I've been able to avoid it so far.
You know where they got the name from, right?
I don't.
That it's the sound you make right after you take your first sip of it.
So they've had a really clever like campaign. It's been on like this, you see the spirits delivery trucks. And they always have like some sort of spirits ad on the side. It's branded. It was someone taking a shot of Malort, and the tagline was "Don't enjoy," and then small writing responsibly. And I was like, that's a solid move right there for sure. So
Have you seen the ad on YouTube they put out where like it's supposedly like the grandson of the founder, and he's just like,
no, that's some YouTuber just having a laugh. It's fantastic though. It's hilarious. It's so good.
It's so good.
Does anybody get anything on the nose of the tequila cask?
Oh, I just drank it.
Mine is just like completely, I like nothing unless I stick my face in the glass, and then all I get is the alcohol punch.
Yeah, the nose.
Yeah,
was
I
really
agree, but
on that, but the flavor was like, pretty.
Yeah, no.
Hunter, where are you? You're in the Bay Area, right? Or did I make that up?
Yeah. San Francisco.
No.
These pants will shit themselves. That's good. Yeah, I'm in San Francisco. That's where I'm from. I lived out in the East Coast. I spent a fair bit of time in Chicago as well. Just kind of in my mid-20s. But I've been everywhere, but this is my home. It's where my family's from. It's where I live now. It's probably where I'll be forever. So
I was born in the Bay Area. I moved to LA when I was 3, but I went to college in the Bay Area, and I try to go.
all right.
Try to go every year, but as the girls, I'm gonna go back. I gotta go. I gotta start going to some more football and basketball games.
Let me know when you're in town.
Well,
I'll buy you a drink.
we're a rugby school, but it is what it is.
That's all right. I have no problem with that. I played water polo. That means nothing to most people.
Listen, I mean, Berkeley has both football and basketball teams. We're just
Oh, you went to Cal? I know shit.
Yeah.
All right. Very nice.
And I was born at Altabate, so I was born in Berkeley.
All right. I would argue that the East Bay, especially like Oakland and Berkeley, have some of the better bars in the Bay Area, actually.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I worked at Triple Rock in college, which I don't know if it was
Oh,
around.
no shit.
Yeah, brew pub.
I don't think it is around, for the record.
I think it's gone.
But I've definitely been there.
Yeah.
But yeah, let me know next time you're in town.
For sure.
You ever been to Sláinte over? It's Jack London, so it's like it's out there a little
Yeah.
bit.
I have.
But if you like a pint of Guinness, they're probably my number two in the Bay Area.
Wow. All right. I'll remember
So,
that.
there you go. But it's Jack London, so
It's fun. We'll go to the beast
Yeah.
mode.
Yeah, there you go. At one point, you were maybe going to go to an A's game there. Yeah. So there you go.
So we're in Chicago.
I was there for about a week, a month. God, let's see, about 2014 to 2015.
Gotcha. I used
But-
to when I lived in Minneapolis. I worked in Chicago for a year and a half. So out every Monday and home every Thursday afternoon.
Sure,
I was out in.
it's a good town. I
Spokane.
have a lot of family from Iowa. I mean, not that that's Chicago, but most of my family now have migrated away from Davenport, and into Chicago. So one of my closest cousins lives in Chicago. I go and see him here and there. But I love Chicago. Oh, it's
Yeah,
a
me
great
too.
town.
I'm from
Great
Iowa.
food.
What's that?
I'm from Iowa. I have a bunch. I went to school in Iowa City, and we used to go to Davenport and the Quad Cities for ice cream when we needed
Yeah.
a study break.
For sure.
Yeah, Chicago was like we didn't go to Florida. We went to Chicago for spring break.
For sure. Well, my dad grew up and my dad and my mom grew up in Davenport. My dad went to Northern Iowa, up in Cedar
Okay.
Rapids, I think. My mom went to Iowa though, so sorry.
Good for her.
Yeah, good for her.
Good for her. Hey, before we forget, I want to grab a glass
Oh, yeah.
and put back on camera so we can take a quick photo.
Wait,
This is our-
Gene, hold on. Let me get a glass. I already put my glasses on.
Quick, Michael, quick. Yeah. I threw a little quickie poll up there for the barrel samples. I don't know if you saw it, Hunter.
I did see it. PX Sherry was tops.
Yeah.
Not unsurprising, to be honest.
Not unsurprising, although the tequila did get one vote.
Yeah, there you go.
And
was
one
me
vote
again.
only.
That was me again, because that shit was crazy fun.
Yeah.
I love to hear it. That's what it's all about.
I liked it.
Okay. Well, everybody raise a glass. Thank you, Hunter, for joining us once again.
Absolute pleasure.
All right, smile at the camera. Let's see if I can get this in one shot here. Sometimes I get good at this. Oh my God, everybody's eyes are open. Hot damn. Okay, you're good. Now you can drink again.
There you go. Everybody's eyes are open. Should have added another whiskey in there.
Right?
Yeah.
Maybe next
Well,
time. There you go.
or maybe it's because we tried 3 barrel samples that we all woo.
Yeah, there you go.
New rule: if you're giving a tasting, you got to include a couple of barrel samples.
Oh shit, that's a high bar.
That's a really high
good
bar.
rule.
But it was good to have them as half samples. We did
Yeah.
one of the like Indian single malts. It was like 10 or 11.
There were 10.
And it was like by the seventh, you're like, cool. I have no idea what's going on.
By
Right.
the 10th one, I'm like,
Is it Friday? I don't even know.
Okay, cool. Oh, this is your best one? Glad you made it the 9th. Really good on the palate.
we saved the best for last.
Yeah, brilliant.
As it goes. As it goes. Oh
I'll
shit.
say I'm selective about the pins I put on my jackets, and I gotta say I got the wrong side. The Dingle pin right there.
Oh hell yeah, you got the red boy on there. That's awesome.
Yeah.
You get that from Aiden?
logo.
It
Huh?
is. You get that from Aiden?
Yeah, last year. I think it was.
Oh,
last
you were
year.
at the in person, yeah?
Yeah, man, that was super fun.
Oh, very cool.
I did,
very cool.
I did a bunch of photos. I was the one who took the pictures.
That's probably why I didn't see you in them.
Yeah, that's usually what happens with the
There
photographer.
you go.
Santa.
No, that was great. Aiden had a blast. So we'll have to make that happen again.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that was just fun as all get out. Oh my goodness. These are just all so good. I don't know which one to go back to.
Again, like I know I keep on saying it, but like first of all, like the people behind this, so the people who work there, like are like the best people. Like they're just it's a land of a thousand welcomes, and they roll out every single one of them. If you're there, like they're the best people. They make great spirit. They're very dedicated to like keeping their whiskey what it is. And there's not a lot of people doing what they're doing, especially in Ireland. But and like I'm not that's not a shot at anybody else. It just truthfully they're intentional. They're truly intentional about what they're doing. And it's cool to see. So and the town's raucous. So
Yeah.
My wife told me that we're planning a trip to Ireland in the summer of 26. So her great grandfather's from there. So and I'll have 3 sons over the age of 21. So
hell yeah, there you go.
she'll go to the spa, we'll go to the distillery.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, again, let me know. Happy to set you up. So
Awesome.
Yeah. I was supposed to take a big number birthday trip with one of my sisters to Ireland, and she ended up having to get a knee replacement. So we haven't been yet. So we may pick another like big number birthday and take off and go. And she wants me to like drag her to all the whiskey places because she still hasn't figured out that there's anything better than some of those really horrible flavored whiskeys. I'm like, oh no, I must teach you. Come with
open
me,
the
Cal.
eyes. Someone mentioned Mickle earlier, like that's up in Galway, which like Galway is another one of my favorite towns. It's like if you like pubs, they got loads of them. And Mickle's up there. It's kind of north and west of the town, but they're very sound guys there, doing really good stuff. Their Pachin's one of my favorites, and their whiskey's young but good. And that's we don't import them. I just think they're cool. So
Mhm.
plenty of places to explore. Ashcross outside of Galway as well. Koch, she used to be the head distiller at Dingle. She I think is the master distiller over there now too. So that's the cool thing about Dingle is because they are so manual and because they're not your IDL or Bushmills, which are big, large operations and stuff like that. All these whiskey places opening, all these distilleries opening, there's a lot of need for people who know how to operate stills on a small scale. So you've had a lot of folks who got their career started at Dingle, becoming lead people at these other places. So
I put a poll together with everything, including the barrel samples. You think you might have a guess as to what actually won everything?
what won the last one? Was it Lunasa? Was that the one that won the last one?
Honestly, I've already forgotten.
I think there was Lunasa, and then there was another one that kept the same.
Well, there was
in the
one that
top.
had 3 and a bunch that had 2.
I'm gonna go with
Right.
Lunasa. Let's go with that.
Ta-da!
Winner, chicken dinner.
There you go. I did it again.
All right. I love
That's
it.
coming to the US.
Yeah, it'll be here. We're placing the order on Monday or Tuesday, so it'll get here probably. Let's see, 6 weeks from now. That puts you. I would say August 1. It'll be on
August
shelf.
1. And what about the I can't, I called it gabagool. I can't pronounce it.
Yeah,
So, I mean,
Grinstad on Gira. It's on the same shipment, but that'll release for like October, November, December. So winter.
that was really good too. I really
It's a
enjoyed it.
lovely whiskey. So yeah, there'll be about 2 or 3 months space between them, but they're arriving here at the same time. We'll release them a little bit staggered for the holiday. So
Makes sense. And for those that were interested, some of the single barrels, those are you said those were select, so if somebody's interested in one, they can reach out to whoever acquired the barrel.
Yeah.
And then-
I can if you shoot me a note, I honestly can't remember off the top of my head exactly where each of them are going. I think the PX pot still should show up in New Jersey in the next month or so, I would say. The tequila cask isn't going anywhere. Sorry, Michael. I think you're not you, Michael Anderson, but I think you're out of luck on that one. And then the cognac cask, I'd have to
Fun, but
remind
I'm not
myself where it
buying
went.
it.
Yeah, fair enough, fair enough, fair enough. Yeah, the I can find out where the cognac cask is going. I forget off the top of my head. Pretty sure PX pot still that's going to New Jersey here very soon. So. And I think they do ship across state lines there. So you should be able to get it from like a Bottle King or one of those kind of big retailers there.
Well, I don't want to.
Any other, what's that?
I was just gonna say, does anybody have other questions? I don't want to keep you up too late. Not that you're in a different time zone.
Oh, look at
Yeah.
that. Man, I appreciate that picture. Sorry. Michael, that's a great I haven't seen that one. I'm gonna share that with Aiden. He'll be like, I look pretty good there. And he
I think
does.
he
So
reposted
there you
that
go.
one actually.
Oh, did he really? Very
Yeah,
good.
I think so. One of them. I know he reposted one of them, but yeah, that was a fun
Holy
event.
shit.
He had the fire going. It really
Yeah.
sold everything while he talked about everything. It was fun.
He, I pretty much talk to him like every morning, to both our detriments. But yeah, like Aiden's awesome. They're good people all across the board. So
Yeah. No, that was a fun night. Far too exciting.
all right, well, we'll make that happen again. But with that, I think I'm going to have to just say good night, everybody.
And I want to thank you once again, Hunter, for joining us. This has been
Always a pleasure.
fantastic. Thank you all for joining us. There'll be more fun things posted as soon as Vadim is able to get away from work to do so. But we have a couple of tastings coming up. There are spots available for, so jump on to Eventbrite and come join us for something else fun in a week or two.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody. I'm not going to
Thanks,
take
Ever.
anybody off, but I'm
Thanks,
going to stop
Hunter.
recording. So have a good night.
Good night, guys. Appreciate it. Cheers.